Welcome, everyone. This week's edition of Five with Rob. I've got Joseph Chaplik here. How you doing, Joseph?
I'm doing great, Rob. Doing great.
Excellent. Welcome. Listen, I'm all about MMR, McDowell Mountain Ranch, and just getting some exposure to the residents in McDowell Mountain Ranch. So we're going to highlight your business. You're a commercial broker. You work for Joseph Bernard Real Estate, and just want to give everyone a chance to get to know you, like you, and use you in the future for some of their investments.
Sounds great, Rob.
Awesome. So everyone knows the drill. 5 questions. First one, where'd you come from? Where'd you move? And what year did you come to McDowell Mountain Ranch?
All right. I moved here 10 years ago. And I actually originated from Ohio. So I was born and raised in Ohio, went to college there. And when I graduated from college, I moved to Los Angeles, spent some time there, almost 9 years, ended up in Portland, Oregon, through corporate America, started this company, Joseph Bernard, moved down here 10 years ago. And when we were looking to find a place to live in Phoenix, we like Scottsdale. So we're always looking for Scottsdale, my wife and I and 2 kids. They were like 1 and 3 at the time. And we came down and visited some of the neighborhoods, and we went throughout all the neighborhoods. And I kept drawn to, like, this isn't what I had, where I used to live, the community, the neighborhoods. And so the realtor I was using at the time that was trying to help me find a rental, because I was going to rent for the first year just to navigate and make sure I didn't get in the wrong neighborhood.
Sure.
She finally took me on the 3rd trip. I came down by myself. She took me on the 3rd trip to McDowell Mountain Ranch and the whole Thompson Peak corridor. And I was like, this is exactly what we're looking for. So pulled the trigger on a house in McDowell Mountain Ranch up in Sonoran Estates, or Sonoran, I can't remember, 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
100 Hills, Sonoran Hills.
It was Sonoran something. But anyway, I was tucked up in the very back of McDowell Mountain Ranch off 105th, past the golf course, all the way up onto a little road called Evans Road. It was a cul-de-sac, one of the last streets at the top of the hill. It took you like 10 minutes to get from Twisted Lizard to the house. But it was a beautiful home, 5 bedrooms, 2-story, had a big yard, everything we needed with the kids to start our new beginning here in Scottsdale. It was perfect. We rented for 2 years. Then he didn't want to sell the house. I was happy to buy it from him. Really liked the neighborhood. And we ended up buying 2 years later in 100 Hills, just on the backside of where we were renting. And now we're in 100 Hills, been there 8 years now in that house, and love it. Beautiful, great location, and everything we wanted. So
excellent. Yeah, that's a real nice section. Hey, you did well. You couldn't go wrong either way. Santa Canyon is probably Evans.
Santa Canyon, that's it. There's a Sonoran Estates up there somewhere, and it was right next to it where the gate was. Yeah, Santa Canyon. That was, we just loved it. The trails, the proximity of where we are in the city to everything else, and then all the neighbors, the families, just a friendly atmosphere. Everybody was great.
It's funny you bring up Twisted Lizard. I really want someone to do something with that place. Bring it back, and we need another restaurant to open within our neighborhood.
Great location. I think they got hit hard when the VIG opened and then Sophia's opened. Although, I'll tell you, you need a neighborhood place like Twisted Lizard. Cheap food, inexpensive, family-oriented, a decent bar to hang out and talk with friends. TVs everywhere. They have one-man bands that come and sing. It was such a great atmosphere. Yeah. I thought the food could have been better, but location-wise, excellent for the neighborhood. And they got to do something with the building next to it, too. That looks like a bank that's been vacant for 10+ years.
That REIT, and you can speak more about that from your commercial experience. I don't think they knew that was in their portfolio. That's the rumor. I didn't think they knew that was in their portfolio up until like 3 years ago. I mean, you never saw a rental or any kind of sign on it. Whatever. I don't know what's going on over there.
Good problem to have. You have so much real estate, you don't know which one's not rented.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good segue. So tell us what you do, and yeah.
All right. So I started Joseph Bernard Investment Real Estate 17 years ago. I was in corporate America. I started at Sprint. I went to another telecom company. This was like early 90s. So pre-cell phone era. I mean, we had pagers, okay, to date this. Allegiance Telecom recruited me. I went to Allegiance Telecom. I was in management at Sprint, so I became an executive at Allegiance. I stayed in the management ranks from Sprint over to Allegiance. We ran that well. It was a publicly traded company. And when I went up to Portland, Oregon, they relocated me to be a vice president of not just the Portland office, but to actually start and find the office space, find the employees, launch the market, find everything we needed, and get it going in 3 weeks. And I had to relocate and get up there and launch it with a public launch because we're publicly traded. And we opened up the office right after Memorial Day in 2001. And it was great. And then, the telecom days ended with some of the scandals, the Enron, I think everybody remembers those days, WorldCom, MCI, everyone had a scandal. So we got bought by XO Communications. And while I was in Portland, Oregon, I was buying apartments. Okay, so I started buying apartments in 2001, really understood what the business was. I liked it. I saw that there was some passive income, there's some wealth building. And then as I was doing this, Rob, I realized through the brokerages I was using in Portland, Oregon, didn't have any high quality experience there. I didn't think they were professional. I didn't think they had high ethics, and I didn't think they were, customer oriented with just that practice of coming professionally into the marketplace for dealing with wealth. I mean, people are buying, millions of dollars of apartments. So that's when the light bulb went off, and I left corporate America when I was with XO. I was, again, vice president for them for almost a year and a half, and I just resigned. I stepped aside and went into full-time brokerage. We broker apartment buildings, and I was correct. Up in Portland, they didn't really have a strong brokerage firm up there. That was, there was one firm that was only apartments. Everybody else was trying to do everything under the real estate umbrella. So we started out as, two guys, myself and my buddy, and we launched it, we started it, and now we have 3 offices, 3 states, actually 5 offices in 3 states, and we're headquartered now in Scottsdale, where I moved. I just run it from down here, and we became one of the leaders, not just in these states, but the whole West Coast. So we do about close to 80 million to 100 million in sales volume a year, probably anywhere from 60 to 80 apartment building transactions, buildings a year. Sometimes we do both sides just because we have a buyer and seller within the synergy of the company. So we end up doing over, 100 plus transaction sides a year for 10 guys. We're doing a ton of volume. So that's where we specialize. And it was real simple, just from all the corporate experience I had and the management training and the accountability. When I brought it to this business, I like to say we're not real estate realtors trying to run a business. We're businessmen running a real estate company. And it's a difference. And you can relate to that too, because you're a business guy and you run a business. We've just brought a different mix to this whole market of apartments because it's a niche business. There's not a lot of guys that do apartments 100% of their transactions. And so the professionalism, the integrity, and the service was the 3 pillars that we just founded ourselves on. And to this day, 17 years later, we still drive that. And we have repeat business, and that's why we grew over the years. We have great reputation in all the states that we're operating in, and we're going to soon be in Idaho. So we definitely are increasing and doing well. And, it's a niche business. We help clients build wealth owning apartments. That's it.
It's ironic that you mentioned Idaho. That's like a go-to area this year. So do you just go and start a company every place you want to start visiting?
Well, I own 3 licenses. So I own a real estate license. I'm certified through the state. Of course, I have Washington, Oregon, and Arizona. And to keep those licenses up, every 2 years, I got to do the recurring, educational requirements to get my license renewed. As far as Idaho, I'm not going to get an Idaho license. That's just too many licenses for me. However, because I have a great platform of guys that work with me, when someone wants to relocate, they maybe relocate and they start an office and they run the office. So I can do that within my company. I did just hire a guy that has an Idaho license, and we're looking into starting that. So he's in Arizona with me down here, but he also has an Oregon license and Idaho. So he's happy to get that Idaho going. We'll run an office up there. As you know, in technology today, you don't have to be in the city to do the sales. You can just, relocate throughout the weeks as you need to go up there for a couple of days and then come back. So as we get that going, we'll get a full body up there, full-time working, and we'll grow it. But that's a good insert to start that market with a guy that already has a license. So yeah, and that market is going through the roof too. Little different than some of these other markets. most of the markets like Oregon, Washington, and Arizona, all the existing product that we deal with is 60s, 70s, 80s built, which is the bulk of it. We don't do a lot of new business of the brand new complexes. That's a whole different segment of the market. It's probably 5 to 10% of the market. We're in the 90, 95% of the market, which is private capital, which is regular people that own apartments. It's not the institutionals that, that buy these things under a company name and run them, or the companies that are building them and owning them for a few years and then selling them. So we're in all that existing product that you see that's getting nicer around every city. So if you drive through Central Phoenix, you can tell the buildings that got painted and cleaned up and nicer quality for people to live in, and everybody wins. The tenants have a nicer home. The neighborhood gets cleaner and nicer. It forces the other apartment owners to do the same thing. It's a ripple out effect.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, one of the worst neighborhoods in Phoenix becomes a decent neighborhood for people to live. Everybody got safer. The school system, the businesses, the convenience stores, the retail, everything kind of thrives from that. And so that's one of the key things that we always work on with our buyers and sellers is they're always upgrading buildings, and they make them nicer.
So you family for your clients. Could you tell us a little bit of like, what's your, if someone's listening to us, what can they get at? They have a couple $100,000. Could they buy something for 200? Do they need a $500,000? Like where's your?
Yeah, that's your entry point. Really, a couple $100,000 is your entry point. 100,000, 150. You're really not getting much. We deal with anything from a duplex up to 200, 300, 400 units. You really need that 150 to 200 to start, and then you're in. It's like the game of Monopoly, right? You own a property on the board. You're making rent when someone lands on it, and then as you grow that portfolio, you get more rent, and you put that big red block house on there, and you get the most.
Love it.
It's the same game. Where you insert yourself is up to everybody individually. If you start out at 150,000, you're going to make money. Are you going to retire? No. But you're going to be building that wealth. You're going to be building the nest egg, security, equity, tax benefits, everything that goes on with the apartment market.
Sure.
If you end up having $1 million, $2 million, and you insert yourself into it, everything is that much larger. I have clients that have 4,000 units. They're making a couple $100,000 a month in passive income. A couple $100,000 easily.
Yeah.
And they're buying stuff left and right. Yeah, 100 unit there, 200 units here, all existing product. This is stuff that's built in the 70s and 80s that are just clean buildings. That's where the value add is. You remodel them, you put better flooring in, better cabinetry, paint them. In other states, you got to put insulation in the ceilings. The whole R32 insulation. You get better double pane windows for efficiency. You get the conservation of the water through toilets and fountains, out of your sinks, and you just, again, energy saving items that reduce your overall bills, creates a better place for them. They're paying electric, so less electric bills for everybody, and everybody's a winner. So there's a lot of things you can do to the buildings. Primarily is the exterior upgrades, paint, trim, new doors, clean up the parking lot, lighting. These are just simple things that we do all the time. Yeah.
Great. So tell us a story about how you knocked it out of the park for one of your clients, or exceeded expectations, or saved the day.
Well, yeah, let's spin the clock back a little on this one, and I'll tell you two stories. One is how I got started, and I think this is great for anybody starting out. I talk to a lot of the college kids, high school kids, and I talk about how to succeed in life. And I like to bring up that point one time. When I started out at Sprint, I was 25 years old. I didn't know anything about sales. And I just consumed myself with reading sales books every evening. And one of the things I ended up doing was learn quickly, right? You got to be a sponge. You absorb everything. And I just had good traits. I would come in early. I was the first guy in the office every day, and I was the last guy to leave, right? And through that, I did more activity every day, going to businesses to sell long distance throughout the day, and then the phone calls. And it was like clockwork every day that I had to make 60, 70 phone calls. And I did before I went home. And so within the first year, I was the #1 sales guy in the company of Sprint out of over 1,200 people in the business division we were in. And I got promoted to a sales manager. And I finished first in the country. And I didn't sell the fourth quarter because I got promoted. And I think a lot of that goes to hard work of what you do every day. You get up, you do the same thing, you stay active, you do more activity, and you go home. And I used to come in on Saturdays. And so, the hard work pays off. 60, 65, 70-hour work weeks pay off when you're starting out. And that launched my career and took me off to a high level through the atmosphere of just getting promoted quickly, exceeding again expectations, and working hard. And I'll give you a second one. I've employed a lot of people over my 25 years of running businesses. And the one thing that you can never do, you can't judge somebody based on how well they look or how well they talk. And when you're hiring people for entry-level positions, mid-level positions, you got to go sometimes with an instinct of how well that person wants to be there. And I've hired guys that talked the game, dressed the part, and they got in, they did nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'll give you an example of a guy I hired. We had to hire a sales team of it was, I think, 12 people when I first moved to Portland. And we hired and had to do it quickly. And we hired 12, we had 12 people ready to go. And one guy came in, one of the last interviews, and I liked him. He didn't have any sales experience. And he just got out of college. And he just moved to town. He knew nothing of the city, but he was hungry. And he didn't have the experience. He didn't have anything. So I took a gamble on him. And I said, you know what? I was going to hire the 12th guy, but I'm going to hire you instead. And I made him my 12th guy. Somebody had to go, didn't get the offer, of course, but I gave it to him. And I just had an instinct on this kid. And I really thought he was going to do well. Again, no experience, nothing. And this guy became one of the top sales reps at 𝐢𝐲𝐴GENCE Telecom within a year. Did everything I told him to do, which is the story I told you. First in, last to leave, worked on Saturdays, became a sales manager in the first year, after the first year in the company. And now he went on, this was in early 2000s. We all left telecom over a certain time. He went on and started a company selling merchant services, which is like ATMs, credit card machines, anything that the service needs.
Sure.
For retail, business, commerce, everything. He just sold that company last year for $14 million.
Not bad.
And he's like 38 years old. So a great success story. I took a gamble on the kid. He turned out to be a great salesperson, hit it out of the park, and then took everything he learned from everything we were teaching and went on and started his own company. And 8 years later, he sells it for $14+ million. Just outstanding story there. Small business success.
Finding talent and being a good manager. It's great.
Yeah. So that's just two stories I like to share. Hard work pays off.
Okay, good. Last question. COVID, we're in about 7 months or so. What's different in your industry? What are you seeing different, and how's it affected your biz and the whole industry? It
affected every business. So let's just throw that out there. It's hurting every business, especially the shutdowns and everything else. We can't pick winners and losers. We got to let businesses open up and make the right decisions to run their business. My business specifically did not get hit too hard early on. We were off to a great first quarter. We had one of the best first quarters of our career. It was going to be a record-breaking year for us. Second quarter is when it set it in, and we navigated through it. And what it did for us was we had so much business on the books in the first quarter, they all closed in the second quarter. The one is, real estate. The one thing it did for us, though, and a negative, was we didn't get a lot of deals started in the second quarter, and primarily because everyone just pressed pause. And in this business, you don't have to sell if you don't need to. Everybody pressed pause. So the whole second quarter, we closed all the deals we had going on, but we didn't start a whole bunch. So our third quarter was kind of dry. We did enough deals to close, but nothing like we usually do. Fourth quarter is about the same as the third quarter. So as it turns out, we're going to have a decent year, a little bit less than we did last year, but we're on a record-setting pace this year. I mean, to exceed all the expectations. We're an Inc. 5000 company, which means we're one of the fastest-growing companies in the country, top 5,000. And that's a great, award to have. But it, again, pays off for hard work. This year, we probably would have set another record and got another award. Would have been our third time. But you know what? I'm humbled to just have the business and to navigate through this. We still are working hard. We had to navigate how we did these deals throughout the third and fourth quarter. We just obviously started the fourth quarter, but we couldn't get into some of the units in the second, third quarter. So we have to navigate through inspections and getting owners, and buyers to be able to participate into how are we going to get in these units to inspect them. Tenants didn't want us in them. So it did put a little damper on some things, but we respected everybody. We did what we needed to do. We navigated through it. Now it's a little looser in getting into these units. Everyone wears a mask just to make sure we're not doing anything wrong. Business is picking up, and I'll tell you this, Rob. From what I'm seeing right now in this fourth quarter start, we're going to have an explosion in first quarter next year across the board in real estate. For you deal with residential, but for the apartments, Oregon, Washington, Arizona, of course, sales are going to go through the roof. There are so many buyers out there right now, and when people start saying I'm ready to sell, and then the election, it's going to go through the roof. And then we're in a unique position because it doesn't matter which way the wind blows, in politics or anything else in the market conditions. Buyers and sellers still need us to do the transaction, and there's not a lot of us. So we're always busy. This just slowed us down in the summer, but it is going to pick up again. It's already picking up, and we did an okay year. So I'm grateful for that.
Great. Awesome. Great interview, Joseph. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy this week. And,
yeah, thank you.
Great to have you on.
Well, I appreciate the time, and good knowing you, and you've been a great friend over the years, and we've done some deals together, helping each other out. So really appreciate that relationship and the trust. So thank you.
Excellent. Go get him.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Bye-bye.